Who's the enemy?
At the moment, the enemy is someone who thinks I don't rake my leaves quickly enough when they fall.
What if I gave you the shocking news that your neighbor is actually not your enemy?
Oh, yeah?
What if I said that you could pick any point on the globe and the people who think the people next door to them are their enemies, or even the people who are at war with each other, that's not actually the enemy. There's only one enemy, only ever has been one enemy for the entire human race. That enemy is hell.
But my neighbor's really annoying.
Yeah, I know, but actually, they're not the enemy. And in this episode, we are going to give you the details of how that enemy, which is hell, operates on you. This is Swedenborg in Life. Dr. Jonathan Rose, thanks for hanging out.
Hey, thanks, Curtis.
Curtis Childs, thanks to everyone watching. Thanks to our members. If you want to support this work, click that join button, become a member. You get exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the account from the afterlife from the scientist and theologian Emanuel Swedenborg, where he's telling you, I went to heaven, I went to hell, and by the way, this is how hell not just is, but how it operates on us every day. It can influence us. Heaven and hell is not something that's like, that's their problem over there.
How tremendous to know that.
Yeah, it's handy. So if I had to sum it up, tell me if this seems fair. You know Swedenborg's accounts inside and out. Hell's plan overall is to divide.
Yes, yeah. Yep, Swedenborg uses that old saying about divide and conquer. Yeah.
So that's what they're trying to do to us. And what I want to do is read an account Swedenborg wrote in his series Secrets of Heaven, where he talks about a certain kind of spirit and how they operate on you. Okay?
Okay.
Don't be scared.
All right.
Spirits of a certain kind want to be in control and to be the only ones ruling everyone else. Me? Are you looking at me? None of us are like that.
No.
Well, I mean, according to Swedenborg, that's the root of hell, what we just read right there.
Yeah.
And it's sitting there kind of latent inside everyone.
And I guess these spirits are people who have gone all in on that. Yeah. The control thing.
This is what happens if you don't pull out those weeds in yourself. You end up here, ruling everyone else. For that purpose, they arouse enmity, hatred, and conflict among others. I saw the fighting that results, and in amazement asked who they were. I was told they are the type of spirits who stir up this sort of trouble because they aim to wield supreme and solitary power in accord with the maxim, divide and conquer.
Yeah, there it is.
So for people who aren't familiar, tell me a little bit about, okay, what spirits in the afterlife, is that talking there? Who are they stirring up into enmity and hatred? Is this something I need to worry about if I'm a person in the not afterlife?
Yes, this is something we need to worry about because Swedenborg's idea is that what he found was that there's a completely separate universe, in effect, of the spiritual world, the world of the afterlife, and that's physical. It's not up in the stars or somewhere. Yeah. It's a completely separate realm.
A different dimension.
Well put. And then those beings in that realm are ex-people. They're people who lived here and died, and that's what physical death is, that you transition, your spirit transitions from being here to being there. Okay. But you have the same characteristics you had before. You love the same things. You know the same things, and so on. And they wish to influence us through our minds. They're able to be present with us. If they were physically in the stars, they'd be far away. But through the nature of these two different dimensions, they are able to be absolutely present with us in our thoughts and feelings and want to influence those and to stir up, this is good, we like this. Stir that up. This is bad, turn that down.
Yeah, so when you're walking down the street, do a diddy, diddy, dum, diddy, do. And you're having hell and heaven constantly trying to get a word in edgewise. I mean, that is maybe the headline from Swedenborg's whole series of experiences. Yeah. Is that there's not the spiritual world, unless you understand the spiritual world and how it influences you, your life is never going to make sense. You're never going to understand, why do I have this mind? Why can I not get away from these thoughts it keeps, so sure, maybe somebody said something unpleasant to me and it happened back then. Why is it now, it's 6 hours later, and that thing is on repeat in my mind?
Or 50 years later. Yeah.
50 years later.
Right.
That's right. I still remember what you said to me in episode 1 of this show. So, but why is that there? And since we've been studying for this show, I've just seen it so clearly that almost constantly I'll find myself deep down this rabbit hole of, I can't believe this person is like that. I can't believe they did that to me. This is how they always are. This is how that group always is. And they're always trying to do this to me. And since I've been reading up on this, I'm like, that's it. That's hell. Trying to divide and conquer. They're trying to, it doesn't matter who it is, because at one point, somebody who before I felt like they're on my team, and now I feel like, oh, they're not, and now they're my enemy. Doesn't matter. It's just got to be some kind of division. That's coming from the spiritual world. You feel it in the kinds of things you think about. This is Swedenborg seeing it happen as it happens.
It's a super sneaky strategy when you think about it, because rather than being something big and overt, like the horror movies would have some slimy creature or something.
Yes.
No, it's just your own thoughts in your own voice in your head. It seems like it's the safest thing it could possibly, how could anybody hack that? Mm-hmm. How could anybody hack into your own internal head space and get a spam message, how would you hack that?
Yeah.
And yet they do it. They know how to do it. And so what a sneaky way to get in, where you're just naturally inclined. It's almost like your immune system, like rejecting a foreign organ. But if it's me, if I recognize it as me, I'm not going to reject it. Yeah. And so you're having a thought and you think, this is me. I'm not going to reject this thought. I'm having this thought. I'm mad at that person. They really did bad things.
Dude, never underestimate the power of the influence thinking something is yours has on it. Just as an example, I'm not good at drawing. I'm no artist. Sometimes at home, like my wife and daughter and I will all like draw these pictures because like my daughter wants to do it with us, and I'll draw mine, and mine's probably worse than hers, and my wife is really good at drawing. But when I see mine, I'm like, that's mine. Look at how cool mine is, like, because it's mine.
Right.
You just have this natural tendency to like, and you can have the reverse of that where you don't like anything you do, but there is this side of it. It's like, oh, that's mine, with your own thoughts. If you feel like I'm deep into this, I'm raging against somebody, and I've got some reason why I've been wronged or why, and you don't. If you think it's all yours, you think about that person and how bad that person is. You never think to scrutinize your own internal monologue or dialogue. You never start to think, am I being fair in this? Is this really true? Is this a misrepresentation of who they are? You just think, well, you don't even consider that because it's got that glow of, these are my own thoughts. What? It's me. It's my drawing.
I don't know where it came from, but years ago, I wrote out on a little card of paper and stuck it right on the right on my wall where I could see it every day. Don't take yourself personally. And it really helped me, because we all have a tendency to take ourselves for, and you think that about other people. Don't take what they said personally. They're just in a bad mood. But we actually need to do that in a way with ourselves, with our own thoughts and feelings.
Your thoughts don't make you who you are. The thoughts that you choose to latch onto do make you who you are.
Yeah, the ones that become action plans and then get carried out. Yeah, those are the ones that get serious and become part of you.
And because here you're seeing there's these spirits that what they do is they want to arouse somehow inside people enmity, hatred, conflict. And because they know if everybody's mad at each other and everybody's fractured, it's just like if you took like an organism, like if the liver's not working well with the lungs, and that's easy to attack. Okay.
Yeah, and they monitor. I just picture it being like somebody monitoring some social media feed or something else, just looking for certain kind of messages that you want to amplify.
Yeah.
And so they just monitor whatever's going on in your internal space, and then they are so good at like instantly recognizing. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? It can be somebody that you're sitting right next to, that you're very close to, that you love very deeply, or you have a commitment to, or something like that. But one thing they say, or one tone of voice or something like that, will just like, what is that? Or something. You take offense, and they can recognize that in a split second,
Yeah.
and change your whole affect. You change your moves. Well, and then an hour later, you're still sort of fuming about this stupid little thing.
Yeah.
And then when they say, well, what is it? You say, I can't remember. But there was something that really irritated me.
You know what you said. So this is what I think. Somebody tuning into this is a good example of why it is that, I'll speak for myself, but I think it's similar for you, why I'm so engrossed in Swedenborg's material. Because somebody might be tuning in for the first time, and they might see, these guys both have colored shirts on. They look like they're well-educated. They're probably rational. What? They're talking about spirits are influencing their mind, and they're not even realizing how weird that sounds. Okay,
yeah.
But
no, this is major medieval weirdness.
No, but so this is what it's like to read Swedenborg and apply it to your mind. Because I've never had a paranormal experience where I've seen a spirit or something like that.
Right.
But when you read what he says about how his theory of mind, which is that there's a spiritual world that influences you, and all the details, this is just one example of the details of how it influences your mind. And once you've been doing that for a long time, and then you start to observe your mind, and you see that is exactly how the human mind works, and this is the thing that explains it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get wrapped up in this. You can learn that this is stupid. This is unfair. That I'm nursing this enmity against whoever, and there's no satisfying explanation for why that's happening in your head in the first place. Some people will try to say, "Oh, it's just how you there's an evolutionary. You used to have to use that to be worried about a tiger in the savannah." Doesn't quite There's something to that, but it doesn't quite explain it. There's something else which is it's just there's a wounded part of you that's something. Nah, but that doesn't quite. This explanation, though, it absolutely explains the patterns and the intent and the effects. And then once you start to recognize that that's what it is, that this is something coming from outside of me. The intent of this thought train is to get me thinking mean things about them. Then it loses its power over you. So the model works. That's why.
Yeah.
It's not because I can see spirits or that anything Swedenborg says has got to be right. It's because you try it out and it's that's the best theory of mind.
Yeah.
It
is.
So that's why we're so weird.
And other things just cannot, there's some big chunk that they cannot explain. And I think a great one, which I've heard a lot of comedians lately picking up on as well, is what possible purpose would it be for some part of your own mind to constantly criticize everything you think or plan to do?
Yeah.
To badmouth you. Why would your own mind badmouth you constantly? Just raining fire on every idea or every sort of positive thing that comes up. It doesn't make sense. And it's hilarious. And so comedians are able to make, good meal out of that. But Swedenborg can actually tell you why. It's because it's not you.
Yeah.
They're playing on something that's in you, but it's coming in from outside, and we actually have a choice. And once you realize, well, first of all, there can be a higher part that looks at your thoughts, because I found when I started to, do this work and started to examine my thinking, at first you just naturally think that all your thoughts are your thoughts as just me. But when you start to evaluate what they're actually saying, listening to what's going on in your head, it's all over the map. Some of it is highly altruistic, compassionate, beautiful. Some of it is completely insane or absolutely mistaken or getting stuck in some little eddy. And it's all over the map. How is this even one person? And the answer is, it's not, it's not. I've come to think of it like a radio station.
Yeah.
And when you're used to it playing in the background, you just don't think about it much. But then if you start to think, well, wait a minute, why are we playing this right now? What's going on?
Yeah.
What's being communicated here?
That understanding the influence of heaven and hell is enlightenment. That's what enlightenment is. That was the thing that changed the way Swedenborg saw everything.
Yeah.
And really it goes back to this is God. God is the force behind heaven. So it's either God is talking to you or hell, which is the sum total of all human evil. One of those two things is talking to you. All right, let's now let's expose a little more of what some of the people who have chosen hell in the afterlife are like.
Okay.
So he says, I had the opportunity to speak with them, with these evil spirits, the ones who are raising up this
Now
divisiveness.
That's Oppo research. Is
Yeah,
that what you
really.
call it?
This is embedded reporting or something.
Yeah.
And they immediately said that they were in charge of everyone. You are,
Which is, by the way, hilarious. I mean,
yeah.
Swedenborg must have known. Like, you know.
yeah. Well, it's just pure narcissism. I'm in charge of everyone. Anyone who says I'm in charge of everyone, it's like a red flag.
Okay.
Then Swedenborg says to them, you are out of your minds if you resort to that kind of approach to bring you to power. I was allowed to answer. They spoke with me from above.
Oh, that's interesting that he even taps into the fact that what they want is power.
Yep.
This is a really insane way to go about it. It's just interesting.
Yeah. Well, if you say, this is the insanity of evil. This is why I said in the beginning, hell is the enemy of the human race.
Yeah.
And what hell, if you have to define what it is this me above everything.
Yeah, that's right. Which you wouldn't think would be that bad. I mean, there's a certain self-preservation that has to happen and so on. You wouldn't think, well, that's not so bad.
It's the answer to the world's problems.
Yeah.
Me above everything.
Right.
But you see a little bit of the insanity here because these spirits from hell are thinking, well, what I want is power. And so what I'm going to do is get everyone to fight each other so they'll be weak so I can get it. You just think about the incredible amount of damage to people that's happening because of that. They don't care at all that they've set these two people against each other and the destruction of that friendship and the long-term effect. Like that's so much. It's like you're destroying 40 Picassos just to smash a window to get into a building. Who cares if you have power over people like that, to do that much damage to get this fleeting, like I feel like I control people when really God is the one who rules the universe. That's insane. That's insane. It's self-destructive. You don't want hell steering you or the human race.
And it's a tremendous insight. I think it's very, very helpful because once your eyes are open to that, you see it everywhere. You see this, like who benefits from us fighting?
Yeah.
Who wins when we get in an argument? So much of this reminds me of that childhood story, and I'm not even remember what it is. It's probably Tom Thumb or somebody, but there was a story of he sitting by the fire, and he's very scared. He comes up because there's these giants, know, and then he goes to the position of the one, throws a stone at the other, goes to the first, throws a stone at the other, and gets them fighting with each other, and then he's able to
Isn't
run
that The
off.
Hobbit? Didn't The Hobbit do that?
It may.
No, probably not. Those trolls? No, okay. You know the trolls, like the...
I think it is a very common...
Yeah. Okay.
Once that got into my head, I see it all the time.
It's true. It's true.
Because it's amazing how you can say, especially with loved ones for some reason, you can say one sentence, they can say one sentence, and you're already deep into like, what just happened?
Yeah.
But it's because somebody was already throwing a stone at you from their direction and at them from your direction that looks very plausibly like it came from you, but it didn't.
There's only one actual battle that's going on, and that's heaven against hell. So that is something that takes place inside each one of us and takes place collectively. And unless you are fighting that battle, you're just doing hell's work for it. So the hell is the desire, is self above everyone. That's what it is. That's how it goes. Heaven is happiness of all together.
Yes.
And all this...
Low ego for the sake of community and getting together, humble servant kind of attitude.
I'm going to enable the Lord to do what he wants to do for the human race, which is to bring about a heaven from the human race. Because if you're doing anything else, then it's not really making any progress. Because it's just embedding more hell inside you. Or there could be marginal progress if you feel like, okay, my team really needs to win this because we are the better team. Sure, but that's not the actual battle that's happening. Okay, let's continue. They spoke with me from above, not too far over my forehead, and spoke fluently, since they had been very eloquent in bodily life, when there are people in this world. I learned that they are the type... Oh, here we go. You're going to have to explain to the audience what the heck he's talking about here.
Okay. All right.
I learned that they are the type who relate to thick phlegm in the brain, which they drain. Where are you going? Why is everyone clicking away? They relate to thick phlegm in the brain, which they drain of life and make sluggish by their presence. This causes blockages, the origin of many diseases, and dull wits. Can you clear that up for us?
Okay, so this is quite simple. It's just the concept that the entirety of heaven is in a human form. And so the human form that we wear is not some evolutionary accident. This is actually, especially the interaction of the organs and the parts and so on, this is the shape of everything.
The divine design.
It's part of the entire design of the universe. And so Swedenborg, who knew a lot of anatomy, had published on anatomy and so on, was able to see the connections between these. You're kidding me. You guys are the phlegm on the brain guys? He was able to identify they're doing exactly the same, slowing down thought, doing this interfering, blocking, and so on. And all these diseases of the eye or different organs, he says, these are spirits. These are things that are opposed to this heaven project that God is trying to do, which is in the best sort of arrangement of the human form.
That's great.
How am I doing?
No, better than I thought.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and that gets me thinking. This delivers us a way to communicate to people the heaven versus hell conflict. So if the divine design, like you're saying, all of heaven is in the human form because that's actually the form of God.
Yes, right.
So
image and likeness of God. We're right in Genesis. Yep.
You can think of everything that heaven is trying to do. Everything that God is trying to do is like trying to build and maintain this big human being.
Yes.
It's made up of all of us. Like we're all the little parts
That's
of it.
right. We're little
so
parts.
Everything that's for heaven is like trying to, because if you think about it, in a human body, all the little cells have a happy little place to live. And that's good for everyone. And hell is the effort to destroy that body. So it's like the diseases or the injuries or whatever that would make it so that, you think of how stupid it is if there's one little cell that says, I want to be the ruler of this. That's so dumb. No, you don't. You don't even know. You can't do that. You're just going to wreck this for the rest of us.
I'm no expert on physiology, but it seems like most of the problems are either over-functioning or under-functioning. Like something's broken, or it doesn't do the thing. It doesn't release that hormone, or it doesn't do the thing it's supposed to do, or something massively over-functioning. Your cells that are dividing wildly that are not supposed to be dividing, and they're supposed to stay in their lane and all that. So all these maladies come from over or under-functioning.
Because they're not, which is another way to say they're not with the program.
Yeah.
There's something,
right.
Everyone's got to do what they're supposed to do, and then it's going to work for everyone.
Yeah.
That's what heaven is. Hell is like, what do I care about all of you? I want to do what I want to do for whatever reason I want to do it.
And it's so massively interconnected that so often you can say, oh, well, my thigh hurts. Well, that's because of something in your spinal column, or that's because of something way up here in your neck.
Yes. And I don't know if it's a medical term, but usually they'll say, and overall, that's because you're old.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. No, I'm familiar with that.
They'll say you're just. This is what they've started saying this. Yeah, you're just old. Like, you're just like, there's no hope for you. Okay, so that's what's going on. These spirits who are doing this hell stuff on people correspond to the same sort of process in the body that destroys functioning in the body. So they're against the human form. They're against heaven. He's describing them more now. They were devoid of conscience, I observed. And for them, human prudence and wisdom consisted in arousing enmity, hatred, and infighting among others in order to gain the upper hand.
That's amazing to think that they identified. I'll tell you what prudence is.
Yeah.
The chief skill you want to have is let's him and her fight or something, let's get other people fighting. That's wisdom.
Yeah.
You'll get ahead, my son, if you practice that.
Yeah. It's totally. And you know what? I bet you can really do some stuff with that, if you really know how to arouse people's hatred against each other, man, you can get some things done. You can insert yourself.
Yep.
You can do politics and all that.
They're all full of emotion
Yeah.
because they're all riled up. And if you're calm, you can just steer right through there and get what you want done.
The only problem with that, the only reason I would not advise everyone to go into that as your
Yes.
discipline is the total effect of that. The net effect is a big old nothing burger.
Yes.
You accomplish nothing with that.
Yeah.
Because you destroy a bunch of people that could be happy. You think you're getting something good by getting your objectives in there. What you're actually doing is you're entrenching yourself in hell. Because it's those evil spirits that want to divide that are pushing you to do it. And as you say, well, yeah, I want to do that. You make yourself more and more a part of hell. And so you ruin your chances at happiness. You're never going to accomplish something. You're just trying to ruin the body of heaven. So eventually you're going to get pushed aside and something. In the end, it amounts to nothing. You might feel like in the moment, this is great, this is working. Long term, it's a terrible way to spend your money.
No, that's right. It's bad for you. And I just think if you want to make devils laugh, like after you die, go to hell and tell them you're in charge. That'll get a great laugh out of those.
That's not how the game is played. That you think you're on top because they're pushing you along, but that's not. There ain't no friends there.
No.
Swedenborg asks them another question. I was permitted to ask them whether they knew they were now in the other world. Like, do you guys know you're in the afterlife?
Wow, that's great.
Where they would live forever. Do you know there are...
Do you even know you're dead right now?
That's how crazy you are. Do you know there are spiritual laws here that flatly forbid that kind of behavior? I asked. when you were in the world...
These are pretty basic questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you were in the world, you could be considered and accepted as the wise among fools, but you are lunatics among the wise. This displeased them.
Did it? That's so funny. I didn't see that coming.
You ought to know that heaven consists in mutual love, I went on, or the love one person has for another. This is why heaven is orderly and why so many myriads are governed as one. But it is the opposite with you. You inspire others to plot nothing but acts of hatred, revenge, and cruelty against their comrades. We can't be anything but ourselves, they answered. That tells you that our life awaits each of us, I was allowed to respond.
Yeah. So the life they lived while they were here in the world went right on into the other world. And there to a point, Swedenborg's basically saying you have a choice. And they're saying, we are who we are. This is all you get.
Yeah.
We're committed to this. This is what we think is real and proper, and we're going to keep doing it.
So, the question today is, do you want people like that running your life? Because they're knocking on the door of your consciousness, saying, hey, think like us, be like us, let us control you through inspiring enmity within you. And is that who you want to be your mentor?
And they can inspire a certain pleasure with that, that idea of revenge. Like apparently just physiologically, there's some tremendous chemicals that go through your body, like that idea of revenge can really get into you. We're righting the wrong. We're going to do this. And so they've got some weapons. They've got some tools to use in terms of pleasures that we feel when we're at war with it. Like this, I'm not taking this anymore. I'm going to stick up for myself. And I'm not saying sticking up for yourself is a bad idea.
Yeah.
But they're using stuff in us to try to create bad things. Bad for them, bad for us, bad for the whole community. But otherwise, fine.
There's like pros and cons.
Yeah.
Sticking up for yourself, no, that's not bad. What we're trying to say is you don't know when you're really sticking up for yourself and when you're not. This is the work you do before that.
Yes.
Because there's plenty of times, and I've had this in my own life. I remember very vividly. I was once, this is one of my worst memories. I was once at a concert. Like had played, it was just like a little concert, and I had played music in it, right? Uh-huh. And I was like singing, ba-na-na-na-na, and I think that was what I was thinking. And during the song, some of the people in the front were like doing a little clap along, and at the time, for some reason in my mind, I was like, "Oh, are they making fun of my song?" Like those guys, and I had growing up, I like pretty timid kind of guy. Like it's not like I would, but I was like in sort of like I'm a little older now, and like I'm gonna say something. And then so like I was sitting behind one of the guys who was doing that, and I was like, hey man, were you guys making fun of my song? And he was just like, what? We loved your song. What do you? And then he thought that he didn't like me anymore. And I always think back of like that was my little mind, which is these spirits saying you got to stick up for yourself here. But the truth was, I wasn't sticking up for nothing. I was totally deceived by that, and it ruined something that was good.
And it's a moment that was like a triumph for the other side.
Yeah.
Like they picked a good moment.
Oh man!
You know, because like, hey, wait a minute, this is getting out of hand. Everybody's clapping. We got to sow something in here. You know,
Yeah.
we got to oppose this.
So what I'm trying to say is that will sometimes be the like, wait, no, you're telling me with your religion stuff that I can never stick up for myself. You're trying to get to focus on, oh, the battle is between me and these people who are causing me problems.
Yeah.
That's not the battle.
That's not the
I'm
battle.
not saying there's never a place to stick up for yourself, but I'm saying until you start to take on hell, you're never going to be able to tell when you're actually sticking up for yourself and when you're just a sucker for their divisiveness.
Yeah.
Speaking from experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've
Yeah, I've never experienced it myself, but thank you for sharing that.
this is part of I feel like what I can do for the world. I can show you. Don't be like me.
Don't walk this path that I've walked. There's still time.
Look at what I've become. Save yourself. Okay, so we've had this big intro. I want to sum it up. Let's do an elevator pitch.
All right.
I'm gonna hit you with this. Maybe give me 60 seconds on this.
All right.
So, how does holding on to hatred connect you to hell?
Well, hatred's sort of the coin of the realm, isn't it? It's the opposite of love. So everything about heaven is love. And so hate, those feelings, we think we're autonomous beings and we're all separate, but actually our thoughts and feelings come from that other realm.
From heaven and hell.
From heaven and hell. And this is what astounded Swedenborg was to realize, I feel this so strongly. It's not even my feeling. And if hell can get you to hate, it's a huge win for them. Because that's their whole industry is premised on that. Huge win for them. So they're trying to, every way they can think of, to get you to hate more. And they do not like it when we love more or when we say, you know, I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to bury the hatchet. So they connect with us, and pretty soon they're stirring up things in our hearts and in our blood chemistry and so on that get us all worked up.
In case that wasn't enough, the reasons we just gave of why you don't want to, hell causes divisiveness, you don't want to do divisiveness. Another negative side effect of listening to hell and being divided is that if you're in the act of hating or raging against people, it seriously degrades, if not destroys, your ability to worship God.
Oh, wow.
Which is, you want to have that intact. This is from Swedenborg's Doctrine of Life 73. The Lord teaches good and loving actions in many passages in the Word. This is the opposite of hell. He teaches such actions in Matthew when he instructs us to be reconciled with our neighbor. And then it quotes Matthew, if you bring your gift to the altar, and in doing so, remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First, be reconciled with your brother or sister, and then come and offer your gift. Being reconciled with our brother and sister, this is back to Swedenborg, is turning our backs on hostility, hatred, and vengefulness. The very things hell's trying to get us to do. We can see that this is turning our backs on these evils because they are sins.
Wow. Yeah, so understanding, I think we talked last time about a definition of sin as being something that's actually against God and spirituality and religion, not just against social convenience or whatever. You know, it's more than that.
You're not trying to save face. You believe in this.
No, yeah, that this is actually not good for the whole heaven project. And so turning your back is powerful language to me of just like, I'm not doing it, you know, just turning away from hate and just saying, yeah, I see that that's kind of addicting, but like, that's not what the Lord wants here.
Is that the most powerful action you can take? I think it is. That here we are, we're in this wide open existence where you have before you many paths and they all have their rewards down them. If you go and you use hatred and malice and cunning, you may find things you love there. You may rise to power. You may have the satisfaction of getting the people who bother you. You may win arguments. But you can realize that that's evil, that that's not good. You wouldn't want somebody to do that to you, and it's not right. It is against what is good and true and is God. Even though there's a draw, there's something pulling you down that. And when somebody says something that triggers you, it's like, oh, I'm going down that road. To be able to say, I see all those paths, but then there's also these ones in which I forgive, in which I love, in which I am humble, and I am emulating the love of the Lord, which, you can do so many things against the Lord and he still loves you. And that's what moves you about the love of a parent for their child. So I can go and do that, even if it's hard, even if it's not always fun and glorious to do. That's the right thing to do, so I'm going to do it. That's the battle. That is the grand action as a human being that you can take. That's what really matters. That's what really leads to a sea change in existence, is the more people that do that, that's where the action is.
And we've all seen examples which are just incredible, but there are amazing situations where that people who are on either side of a war conflict, and then this person's son killed this person's son, or one of these kind of things, and then they forgive, and they actually go on a speaking tour together to say, we don't have to hate, even as a result of this horrendous thing that happened. We don't have to hate, we can rise above it. That's just astonishing to see that. But there are examples around us. You can see there are people who just, if anybody should be mad and hold a grudge, it should be that parent.
Yeah.
And they're not, they found a way to choose not to do that. Yeah.
And the only way you can find a way to do that is from the Lord.
It is spiritual. It's not earthly. It's not a human, not a merely human trait to forgive in that situation. What you're supposed to do is be consumed with, desire for revenge and everything. And so to rise above it and to get to a different perspective, say, this is a human being, I love you, let's work together.
And that is what the Lord is this love. So if you're not doing that, it's impossible to be connected to God, even if you think you're praying and doing it. That's not what it is.
Yeah.
So this is from Secrets of Heaven 2349. No one can be united to the Lord except through love and charity. Love is spiritual union itself, and the very nature of love shows. Anyone opposed to doing good out of love for others opposes the Lord.
So love is that actual union itself. I mean, it makes so much sense when you say it, and yet it's easy to forget. Love is that bond that you're looking for.
People don't understand what it means to worship God. I think a lot of people, when they think, well, I worship God, I go to church and I say the prayer, I fold my hands, and I think about God a lot, and I read the Bible. Those can be helpful in getting you to worship God, but the actual act of worshiping God is love one another as I have loved you. That's who God is. That is the core of all the commandments from Jesus, and that's what the divine is. So to go and say, even though Jesus loves everyone, heals everyone, wants to lead everyone, even the people who are against him, wants to gather them as a hen under his wings, he wants to do that, and yet I'm going to go and not forgive, and I'm not going to love, and I'm going to go crush my enemies. You just can't get along. That you can't. It's an oxymoron to say I worship God and I hate my neighbor. There's a reason why love God and love of the neighbor are sitting right there, because they're the same thing. If you love me, feed my sheep. That's what Jesus says. So you have to. The love itself is the worship of God. You can't split those two when they are the same thing. Hey, I've got an announcement. Hope you're enjoying the show. If you are, you can become a member. There is a little join button that is below each video and on the channel homepage. You click that and you can sign up to be a member of Off the Left Eye. If you do that, We are going to give you custom emojis that you can use when we're premiering a show or when you comment on this channel. You get custom badges that show how long you've been a fan of this channel, so you can say to your friends, you haven't been a member as long as I have, and that will feel good. And you get behind the scenes photos and members only posts as a way for us to say thank you to you. So it's a fun way to support the channel and make what we do possible. So click that button, join, become a member today. Okay, back to the show. So we're exposing the secrets of how hell operates and how it tries to get us to be complicit in its plans. And we've given you a couple of reasons of why you don't want to go along with that. Here's one to add, though, that if you do buy into divisive hatred, that actually literally puts your spirit into a hellish community in the afterlife.
Oh.
And all that hatred that you get wrapped up in, that sticks on you. Like it stays with you after death. So I'm going to give you a couple of Swedenborg passages that describe that process happening.
Okay.
You think of like bird, you walk through the woods. You remember burrs? Like there used to be
remember
burrs.
burrs,
I haven't seen them in a long time.
Yeah.
But it used to, you could walk through the woods and you get burrs on you.
You're pulling them off your socks. And,
There's hatred burrs, sort of. Those who hate, this is from Secrets of Heaven. Those who hate their sister or brother kill him or her in their hearts, as the Lord teaches. I think it's fine to just hate this person. You have heard that among the people of old it was said, you shall not kill, but whoever kills will be subject to judgment. This is the words of Jesus. I say to you, though, that any who are angry at their sister or brother without cause will be subject to judgment. Once again, those who say Raka to their sister or brother will be subject to the Sanhedrin.
yes.
But any who say stupid will be subject to fiery Gehenna. These words, so why do you have to say it that much? Swedenborg explains, these words refer to different degrees of hatred. Hatred opposes charity, and if it does not kill with its hand, it still does so in its mind or heart, in every way it can. External deterrence alone prevent it from killing with its hand.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's really something, because again, you feel like hating it's just your own private business. Like who's going to supervise what you do
when they
in
deserve
your
it.
own head
They
when
deserve
you're on,
it anyway.
when you're on your own time. You're not on the clock. You can do whatever you want.
Leave me alone, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, I know, right? But actually, that's a big deal. What goes on and especially those obsessions of just like nursing that. Don't people say that? You know, you're nursing a grudge. You keep going back to that. You wake up in the morning and you try to remember, oh yeah, I remember my enemy now. Oh, yeah, I'm going to move that situation forward again today.
That early morning remembering of your enemies.
No, that's right.
Okay, this
Nice
continuing
way to
on.
start the day.
It's the Folgers for the soul. Secrets of Heaven 10:10. This is talking about a passage in the Bible. In this passage, being angry symbolizes a departure from neighborly love. Consequently, it means hatred. Anyone who feels hatred not only lacks charity, or love for others, but also inflicts violence on it, or in other words, sheds blood of love itself. So the murder of a fellow human and the shedding of that person's blood is hatred. And this is what hatred is. It lurks in every thought we nurture against that person.
Wow. It lurks in every thought.
So
every little term. I can't believe it. Can you see that? Do you see what they did?
No, it's terrible. So here you have the baseline 10 commandment, Old Testament, thou shalt not murder. And most of us don't do that. But Jesus comes along and says what we just read, which is, yeah, you heard you're not supposed to murder people, but you're hating them. That's just, you're on the path to murder. And what Swedenborg then is opening up about those words is that, listen, there's the same chemical compound that makes up murder. That's present in smaller amounts in hating people, nursing that hatred against them, even though you wouldn't do it because it's gross and I get in big trouble. If you sit there and without any kind of restraint, hate the person, I'm not saying necessarily you would kill them, but there's a little killing in that. that's a little seedling of the same thing. So you got to turn your back on that in the same kind of way.
And again, you can see news stories where just out of the blue, somebody did some horrible thing, and other people can't believe.
Yeah.
Like, where did that come from?
Right.
But if that's been nursed in there for a while, and then they get to some situation where they're either from some, mental or emotional disturbance, or like drinking to excess, or something weakens their resistance to this thing, it will tend to come out. I think that's what the Lord is warning about, that these are the seeds of this thing, and you don't want this thing growing in your spirit.
And the wrinkle that Swedenborg adds is especially this will come out in the afterlife. Because
Even if you held it in all through, okay, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
But there's not as much inhibition in the afterlife. Here in this world, there's a million reasons to be that person that I didn't realize that person was.
You're worried somebody will capture it on their phone or something. Be all over social media or something. And so
in the spiritual world, it becomes much harder to control your impulses. This is a passage Swedenborg has about that.
You have a passage?
Let's go. In the inner meaning of another Bible verse that's like the one we just said, we find that the verse condemns to death, that is hell, those who hate their neighbor. In Matthew, the Lord teaches the same thing. Any who say idiot to their brother or sister will be subject to fiery Gehenna. We just read that. This is because when charity has been eliminated, so when you hate people, you eliminate the ability to look at them with friendly eyes.
Charity's off the table.
We are left to ourselves and our own devices. No longer does the Lord rule us through the inner restraints of conscience, but through external restraints that the law lays on us and that we subject ourselves to in our drive for power and riches. So it doesn't. If you're nurturing hatred towards someone, which is what hell wants you to do, then it's no longer your conscience, your feeling of this isn't right to think about somebody like that. I wouldn't want that done to me. I wouldn't want to know that somebody somewhere is just stewing over how much they hate me.
No, that's a very unpleasant thought.
Yeah, you know what? It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But that, now God can't tell you, you're off the leash. God can't say wait, you shouldn't do that. It's only external stuff, law, fear of punishment, that keeps you off of that. When the latter chains are loosened, meaning the laws and external things, as does happen in the other life, we plunge into the cruelest and most obscene behavior, and so into our own damnation.
Ooh, that's a really frightening passage.
This is why I think that we have a general sense okay, right now, for example, in the world, everybody hates everybody else.
Okay.
Well, the United States of America, there's an election coming up. People are very divided about issues, and they all hate each other, right? They all sit there and hate each other. And there's issues. There are line items and laws that will be made and things, and people can have a very, they can really be on the other sides of the, I believe this thing about it. And the issues are big. And I'm not saying, just ignore all that stuff and just love each other.
Yeah.
However, there's a separate problem, which is that the hatred that you nurture in yourself, that is deadly to you, regardless of the issues and how
that's right,
how the country should go, or anyway, you can replicate that situation anywhere in the world. Everywhere's having its own sort of elections, and the one thing is how we run society and what they are. But the hatred, if you get tricked by hell into saying, well, because this person disagrees with me on such an important issue, I can all bets are off for I just free reign nurture hatred toward this person. Dude, you are drinking arsenic. That is going to stay with you and eventually can become uncontrollable. Don't do that. That's why this is a commandment.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't go out and try to affect the world in the way you want to see it affected.
Sure.
I'm not saying don't campaign for things. I'm not saying you don't try to shoot down ideas, or you can have arguments with people, but in your private thoughts, you can't. The more that you sit around and dehumanize and hate the people you disagree with, that's not going to turn out well for you.
That's right. And Swedenborg talks about, he's got some pretty nuanced material on the fact that there's a difference between having kind of a reaction when something's wrong, like when somebody really wronged you and you can feel it in your body, like that was wrong. That's wrong. And you have that reaction. That's not necessarily what we're talking about. It's when the situation resolves, but you're still enjoying resenting the person, and you hold on to that indefinitely. That's kind of a marker that if you're coming from a good place, then you say, hey, if we can get this back into an orderly situation, I love you, I wish you well, I hope everything works out, kind of thing. Like, I'm not holding a grudge, I'm not going to carry this to my grave or something.
That's like the example you gave before about the people whose children had killed each other in war. It's not to say, well, now you're going to be my friend. You've wronged me in this way. We're going to have you over for dinner every day, but I don't want you to die.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. I wish you well. That's one of the basic goodwill. That's one of the basic things. Of just like, I have goodwill toward you. I hope things work out well for you.
And this isn't, because of course in this conversation it always comes up, well, you got to set boundaries, you got to stand up for yourself. How Swedenborg describes this is the charity, the love for another human being. You can, even in a spirit of charity, you can defend yourself, you can prosecute someone, you can do whatever you need to neutralize that threat.
Yep.
But as you put it, once the other person in his works, he says, once they've come to their senses, once they're not a threat anymore, then what? And is it the enjoyment of hatred?
Exactly. Let's keep nursing this, keep this going.
I think we can think, all right, we disagree with these people on these issues, so, well, if election is over or whatever it is over and we win, and that is fine, the hatred is still there. And the hatred for particular people stays with you. This is an account in the afterlife of the problems that brings. So this is Secrets of Heaven 5061.
More insider intel.
Yeah, that's right. This is how it's going to turn out. People who hated each other in the world come together in the other life and attempt to hurt each other over and over and over.
Oh, man.
Or just over and over. I said too many overs. Which I was allowed to learn from many other examples as well. After all, hatred is opposed to love and charity. It is spiritual aversion and antipathy. So in the other world, as soon as these people sense the aura of someone they hated, they go into a kind of fury. This shows what is involved in the Lord's statement in Matthew 5:22-26.
Wow, just losing it when the thought of this other person, when this other person shows up, or when even the thought of them comes to mind, you just go insane. It's so sad. I think about Swedenborg because a big part of what he did was he says sometimes that I saw almost everybody that I ever knew in life who passed on. Mm-hmm. He got to see, he mentions at one point hundreds of thousands, and so he sees some people who are just like, hate is the other side of the coin from love. Love is a bond. Hate is also a strange kind of bond. You don't think about it. You just think, well, I am so mad at that person. I'm never going to forgive them. That bonds you to that person. Yeah. And you will find them in the afterlife because you're full of that rage about it. And then these people are trying in every way. Sounds like they're not successful because you're in a spiritual world. You have a spiritual body that doesn't even get sick. There are no hospitals or anything like that. Yet they're trying and trying to hurt each other. It's just pathetic. Yeah. And Swedenborg must have seen this with people he knew. Here they are just, trying to hurt each other because they're so full of hate.
Swedenborg experienced this himself. At least once he had an entry in his Journal of Spiritual Experiences where he had these, speaking of spirits influencing your thoughts and feelings, he had this phase in his life where whenever he got near a knife,
that's right,
he had this sort of impulse to hurt himself with it.
Yeah,
that's right. He didn't understand why.
He would get glitchy around a knife.
And he didn't understand why. And then he learned that there was a woman who had hated him during his life. And she had died. And in the afterlife, she was then still trying to get him to hurt himself whenever he got around a knife.
Yeah, apparently this predated his spiritual awakening when he would have this weird reaction to knives. Yeah. And every time he'd sort of have that impulse to hurt himself. Then after his spiritual eyes are open, he finds out the source of this, which is this person who's angry with him. And every time he sees a knife, they do it, do it,
Yeah.
do it.
And I think the moral of the story is hatred is toxic. It doesn't turn out well for you. It doesn't turn out well for you. Yes, there is such a thing as like setting boundaries and having fiery commitment to things and zeal.
Sure.
But what we're trying to get at is like, this is, what's a good chemical? Like those forever chemicals.
Oh my
that
gosh.
The Dow made or whatever that you think, oh, they're just fine in Teflon.
Yes.
Oh, these chemicals are just fine. Put it on your food, and then you learn. Oh, actually, now they're in every single living cell we ever had.
And
they're toxic.
never break down. Yeah, one of those kinds of
DDT
things,
is
yeah.
good. Oh no, actually, it's killing all the eagles. We're just like, hatred's fine. If there's an issue that matters, hate the other people and hate them and hate them and hate them. This is toxic. It's toxic to you. This is a PSA. Like, oh no, we found out. Swedenborg saw that this is not something you want to get. You look on the ingredients. You don't want that on your package.
No, because that sticks around, and it's not that you cannot get rid of it, but you have to get help from the Lord. You have to really do some serious repentance to get rid of that, because it's addicting and it kind of grabs onto your spirit and doesn't want to let go.
Okay, let's recap this section. So 60 seconds or less. How does hatred put you in hell right now?
It is the opposite of love. And so you don't have heaven flowing into you. And there are angels around us all the time, but they can't get in if every time they try to come close, we're just, oh no, I'm loving this hate right now. And you have this bond with hatred. It keeps heaven away. And so it's terrible for you. It's not good for the other person. It's not good for society. It just has a knock-on effect. It's bad all the way down the line.
It's the opposite electrical charge of the love that God sends out and by which we connect with him and connect with other people. So if you only got one sort of space in your heart, if it's full of hate, there ain't no room for love. And if there's no room for love, you're in hell. Because that's what the definition is you're rejecting heaven, and what you're left is all this enmity.
And the ultimate example of this, to my mind, which is just mind-boggling, but when Jesus is attacked by an entire mob who's killing him because he's been good and helped people, you know, and of all people who ever should have been in the position to be angry or upset or frustrated or raging at them because they're blocking his whole thing that he's trying to do or something like that. Instead, he forgives them. They don't know what they're doing, you know. And if he can, I don't think any normal human can do what he did. That was divine, what he did. But we can get that from him. He has that level of forgiveness. So he can certainly deal with the person next door who made you mad. You know, he can deal with that in your heart.
Well, role model alert. Some people will say, well, yeah, sure, God is good, love your neighbor and all that. But if you have sinned or if you've done something wrong, then I'm going to unleash fury on you. That's how it is. You're right. Jesus Christ, he had every reason to hate those people that were doing that, and he didn't even get close. And if that is the North Star, to which we're
that's
supposed
the one to aim for.
That's
right.
it. Case closed. Conversation over. So there's 4 keys that you have to have in order to welcome the kingdom of heaven into your heart. The first one is, don't assume that you know someone else's motivations. Don't judge their intentions. You can judge actions, but you can never make what's called a spiritual judgment, where you're saying, I know why you did what you did, and I know whether you did it from good or from evil. This is outlined in Matthew 7. Jesus says, do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? I would never do that. How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there is a plank in your own eye?
Let me help you with that.
I got it. Trust me. You hypocrite. First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. And this is what Swedenborg adds to that, the inner meaning. No human, this is from Secrets of Heaven, no human, not even an angel, can judge anyone. None but the Lord alone can know a person's inner depths.
God, that's some good humble truth in there. Yeah. So you're sort of sitting on the divine throne and saying, I know what you're what you're up to. You don't even know what you yourself are up to.
Right.
You certainly don't know what's going on with anybody else. Yeah, it's humbling.
So
what a great insight.
To go around and say, yeah, I know whether you're good or evil, and I know why you did what you did.
Yes.
That's not something that God has asked you to do.
Nope.
And it's not something that God wants you to do. And it's something that closes your heart to the influence of heaven.
If your angels are going, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Who are you to say, oh, you know? Good. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, no, you're much smarter than angels, for sure.
It's a frivolous activity. Make civil judgments. Like if you can say,
Sure,
I can't be around this person.
Yeah.
Because the stuff that comes out of their mouth, I don't want my kid to hear that.
I'm not going to hire this person to be a babysitter. Yeah. Obviously they have this or that problem.
I'm never going to watch this YouTube show again.
That's right.
These guys are
no. You got to exercise that prudence. That's right.
poison to the ears. Do that, but you cannot say, I know, and you cannot go around telling other people, this person's evil. I know why they did what they did. I've got them figured out. Or you go and tell that person that they're evil.
Yeah, they are totally going to hell.
Yeah,
and I know why.
It's going to hell, you are ill-intentioned. Don't do that.
Right.
Not only is it not helpful, like when has that ever been helpful? But
well, thank you for that insight.
We have direct orders from the boss, Jesus Christ. Don't do that. That will block you out of heaven. Swedenborg goes on in Secrets of Heaven. If people are smart, they pay attention. Oh, this is just what we're saying. They pay attention not to another's deeds, but only to the other's intention, from which, through which, and for which the deeds emerge. In fact, if they are wise, they barely even see the deeds, but rather the nature and degree of intention in the deeds. It is the same with offerings. The Lord observes the intention behind them. So even though you can't pass judgment on it, that's what you're trying to look for. Is like, what did this person mean to do well? That's what you're trying to base your life on.
That's right. And if you can't see it, it does seem like there's some indication that we should be putting the best interpretation.
Elsewhere,
angels do that, right? Like
Swedenborg says that angels, it's so funny. You'd think that the more good you are, the more you can see the evil in people, and the more you would want out of your righteousness to condemn and point out.
I'll tell you what's wrong with that.
On Facebook, what is wrong with that?
That's right.
However, he makes this astonishing claim that he's seen heaven and how it operates and hell and how it operates, that angels, he says, barely even see the evil in people. And when they see it, they put a good interpretation on it.
Yeah.
Whereas hell is oh so eager to sniff out anything evil you've done and condemn you for it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's one of the ways you can tell those different influences in your mind. Is it doing that, pick the thing out and then show you how bad it is?
Yeah.
Because if it is, that's not angels.
And you, again, all you got to do is look at the way that Jesus lived, because this is God come down into a form we can understand. The story of the woman caught in adultery. It was like
right.
The Pharisees are trying to sniff out the evil and condemn, whereas the Lord is saying, don't condemn. Show mercy.
Show mercy. And look at yourself. If you're without sin, then you go ahead.
Key number 2 to letting the kingdom of heaven inside you. Resist feelings of hateful anger when they rise up. This is something that this is like on your to-do list, your marching orders. You do have a space you've got to tend. It's not in your neighbor's heart, but it's in yours.
Yeah.
This is from Swedenborg's book, Apocalypse Explained, 1017. When we refrain from hatred, reject it, and avoid it as something diabolical. So if we do that, even though we think they were wrong, we refrain from, not from setting proper boundaries, but from the nurturing of hatred in the heart. So if we do that, then love, kindness, and mercy and forgiveness flow into us from the Lord through heaven. Now, for the first time, our endeavors are undertaken with goodwill. We cannot become spiritual until hatred is torn out by its very roots, which is the desire to control other people.
Oh, interesting that hate is identified with the desire to control. That's interesting. And it implies that love would support people in what they're doing. It's not trying to control them. I'm not going to try to make you be this way or something like that. I just celebrate what you're doing, sort of thing. But what an amazing thing. And to think about being able to resist it. Like to think of that hate is trying to get in there. It's trying to plant little hate seeds in your garden and to block it. That's got to be with divine help to be able to do that. But to say, no, rather than sort of, I'm feeling this pushing me this way, and I should hate, and I should go with this hate. Turn around the other way. Go, no, that's poison. I don't want to be hateful. It doesn't matter what the person did. I'm not about hate. I don't want to be hateful. Well, that's not of God.
You're just saying that. Jesus never said that. He never said anything even close to love your enemies.
He wouldn't
say turn the other cheek.
No one would say that.
You kind of lose sight of that. You kind of forget that this is a huge part of the message that Jesus came with, and people have struggled with how do you actually implement that? Because yes, you can't just, if somebody's trying to rob your house, you can't like, come on in,
let me help you. Yeah.
However, the idea that sure, actions are one thing, but intentions are the other, just as we've seen. And if my intention is not this despising and longing for the destruction of someone, that is hatred, that's important for me that's like my job, is to make sure that's not growing in me, even if they're doing what they're doing. That's different marching orders than you'd think you have if you just started up on yourself. This is God coming in and saying, like, look, I can turn your life around, but you got to change this thing, even though you think it's what you should do. Yeah,
and someone breaking into your house, I'm thinking that there's a sort of hellish attitude to that. It's like, I want to kill this person. I want to hurt them. In fact, killing is too good. There should be some torture element that goes on for a while because I'm so angry about what's happening here or something like that. As opposed to, I need to deal with this. It's not good for society. It's not good for anybody. Nobody wants to live in a world. The thief doesn't want to live in a world where somebody else is going to take their stuff.
Yes.
This is not good for the whole thing. So this needs to be shut down right now.
Yep.
We need to stop this. But I wish no harm to this person. I'm not trying to take revenge or torture them or whatever. We just need to stop this thing because society can't have this in it.
And part of that is because you know why they're doing that. Ultimately, it's because of hell.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't know whether the person is complicit in that. Maybe they have other reasons. But like in a broad sense, evil comes from hell, and hell's trying to get all of us to buy into its way of being. So what we try to do is not give hell the power to do what it does. Yeah. But Jesus Christ never hated hell when it was going after him.
That's right.
So we can't do the same. Okay. The third key to having the kingdom of heaven opened in you is that if your opinions are attacked, don't respond by attacking the other person's opinions.
Really?
You can stand up for your opinions in a better way.
Wow.
And this comes out of Jesus' words in Matthew.
But I have really good opinions.
It's a crying shame. Your opinions are so great, and they come from you, which is so great. You have heard it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. So Swedenborg, who believed that there's a deep symbolic meaning in every word that's chosen in Scripture.
Yeah, that's right.
He's not just, because couldn't Jesus, he says, slap you on one cheek, but it couldn't have been like slap you and boxed one of your ears, you turn the other. Why cheek?
Why cheek?
So
why not head or slapped you on the back or something else? The
word cheek elsewhere he defines as a perception or comprehension of truth.
Huh.
So this is like what you know. So there's a deeper meaning in that command, which is like if somebody attacks what you know, you don't go after what they know. You know?
Yes. Yeah, that's right. It's not sort of an equal and opposite response.
It doesn't lead you on the way to heaven. That this is actually an incredibly, as they say, radical way to live your life, which is the trap is what hell will try to push you into is like, oh, that person just insulted me. So then I get revved up and I insult them back in kind. And then I've won, or then we're even. That probably will feel good in the moment, but ultimately that's not letting you into heaven. That's putting you somewhere, but it's not putting you into heaven. It's
dying to escalate because the other person will just, I better, I mean, they came back at me, so I better double it.
Yeah.
Hit them again.
If you were on like that show, Shark Tank, where people come on and they have these ideas for their businesses, and there's always people who have a lot of money and they've done business, and they say like, well, with this part of your business, you should really be doing this thing. And because if you go to somebody who's good at it, they're going to have advice that's different from what you're already doing.
Yes, that's right.
So if you think of God being the ultimate, are they the sharks in that? I don't know if that's what a shark, God's the shark who you're coming and saying, well, this is how I'm living my life. When this person said this thing to me and I nailed them because I had done my research and I said this thing. God is saying, guess what? You actually got to do things really differently than that. And you never would have thought of this, but you're no business genius like I am. Listen to what this is from Swedenborg's Apocalypse Explained. People who have depth, as heaven's angels do not want to repay evil with evil. Instead, they forgive it, acting from the goodwill of heaven. So if somebody comes at me with hatred and attacks, I don't want to get them back in the same way that they got me.
Yes.
It's not
right.
that I don't need to stand up for something, but what they're trying to do, if they're trying to come in and humiliate me and tear down something, I can do something, but what I don't feel the urge to do, or what I don't see as the right goal, is to try to do the same thing that they did to me, because I'm not in. That's not heaven. That won't lead me into heaven.
And I love the idea of getting that goodwill from heaven. Like that's where that needs to come from, to have that goodwill. And I just feel like this recipe, I have no idea what your fourth point is, but this recipe is amazing here, because just those three could really change society. It's not that some people aren't already doing these things, but it's a way forward.
Fourth key: find ways to love and respect people that you disagree with.
Impossible.
No, I know. We should skip this one. If you really think it can't be done, Jesus Christ's got a bone to pick with you.
Okay, all right.
This is from Matthew 5. You have heard that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. Of course, that's what you do.
That's how you do life.
That's like, hello, 1 + 1 = 2. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven.
That's potent. And I have to say, one of the hardest spiritual practices that I've ever done is praying for people when you're in an active situation where you really feel like they've wronged you or threatened your family in some way, or something like that. To pray for people is hard.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard to get, because when you pray, I pray that really bad things happen.
Yeah, as long as I can pray that they're crushed, it's like, no problem.
But to really pray for them.
Get them good, man. Yeah.
I hope you go to the highest heaven, It's hard spiritual work, but I find that it will siphon a better state eventually.
Yeah.
Like going back to those prayers, it'll eventually bring me to a different state. It's like, no, I don't. I wish this person well,
I'm telling you, this is God coming in and saying, I got a better strategy. And this is a hard, crazy thing for you to hear, but he's saying, you already have heard it said, I love your neighbor and hate your enemies. Meaning that's how the human default runs. That's how your ego wants to run life. But I'm saying, don't get caught up in that noise. Love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you. It goes on. He causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. If you love those who love you, what reward will you get? And if you greet only your own people, what are you doing more than others? Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. So it says, try to be like God. And earlier says, if you can do this love your enemies thing, you'll be children of your Father in heaven. It's just like Jesus Christ on the cross and saying, hey, I know these people are literally killing me right now. They don't know what they're doing. I mean, you take it easy on them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. When you think about just like, I've got an idea. Let's have a planet, and then let's put like 8 billion people on it that all have their own autonomy and they're different ages and stuff like that. And then, like, what could go wrong? It's amazing to think about. This is going to be terrible. They're all going to kill each other. Yeah. But this is a recipe for how to have a good society, how to not have that thing that kind of sort of automatically by default wants to happen of an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and all that.
Because eye for an eye, tooth for tooth is insanity. And it's only there as the default because of hell. Yeah. Because that's what hell feeds into human minds at a massive scale. The way it was supposed to go, and the way God is still telling us to go, is you don't need to repay evil with evil. And if everyone was running that, evil would just fizzle out. It'd be like leaves that are wet and you try to light them on fire. There's no fuel here.
An eye for an eye was supposed to be a remedy to, okay, one eye, two eyes. A tooth, every tooth in your mouth. Yeah. That's the way it would. So trying to limit it to only one for one was the first step. But then when we get to an even better place, it's like forgive, turn the other cheek, let it go. So that list was amazing. Can you give that to me again? Like what are the 4 things? What are these 4 keys to heaven? Can you run that down quickly for me?
Key number 1, don't assume you know somebody's intentions. Like, don't judge their motivations. Jesus Christ says, judge not, or else you'll be judged. It's because you reaching in and saying, I know that you're evil or good. You're not doing that for the reason God would do that. God can look at the heart and know, oh yeah, you shouldn't do that because I want to get that out of your heart so that you'll be happy. All of us, we're just trying to dominate and rule over other people. That's not our job. To try to step into that role closes off the kingdom of heaven to us. Key number 2, resist hatred when it comes up in your heart.
Okay, right.
The way hell comes into the world is through each one of us, if we let it. And the way that it comes in most primarily is through hatred. Hatred is, I want to destroy you because I don't like you. Even if I neutralize whatever threat you are, I want the joy of having vanquished you. That is toxic. If everybody did their part to get rid of that, heaven on earth. Key number 3, when somebody attacks your opinions, don't attack theirs back. Don't repay evil with evil. This is an inner meaning of turn the other cheek. Someone slaps you on your cheek, don't slap them back on their cheek. Turn the other cheek. The way of heaven is to not say, I got to get even with you. And then number 4 is find ways to love and respect people that you disagree with. Because what the hell inside you wants to do is, if you don't agree with me, I'm going to crush you. But that's never how Jesus acted. It's not how he's asking us to act. What we try to do is say, the power of love is greater than all this. Doesn't matter what you think or what you even say. I will stop you from causing harm, but I ain't going to hate you. When you clear out that space, when you act like Jesus can come in and then you're in heaven.
Those 4 keys, if can you imagine what the world could be if those were widely practiced?
All those keys have to do with love and how love acts under extreme circumstances, like when somebody's slapping you on the cheek.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think it's worth backing up for a second to discuss, like, what is it to love people? Because if you don't have a clear picture of love, then you're not going to understand what it is we're aiming at. So
yeah. And it is confusing, isn't it? Like, what's the loving thing? Should I just do what other people want me to do, but maybe that's not good? Or
when am I feeling love and to whom? The Swedenborg, luckily, loves to get deep into this and has very clear explanation of this is good love, this is not good love. So this is from his book, Faith, number 21. It is one thing when we love our neighbors for the benefit or service they offer us, and another thing to love them for the benefit or service we offer them.
Wow. That's awesome. That's quite a difference.
Some people even say, like, oh, what are you looking for in a partner? And they'll just list a bunch of things they want. I want this person to make me laugh.
Feel great.
Make me feel great, make me laugh. I want them to look like this. It's like a bunch of, like, the ego's wish list, even though it can feel like, oh, yeah, that's just... Whoever makes a list of, like, oh, I want somebody that I can do this nice thing for, somebody who would really benefit from me doing that.
And I can, be there when they go through this.
Even when we are evil, we can love our neighbors for the benefit or service they offer us. But only when we are good can we love our neighbors for the benefit or service we offer them. There ain't no crime boss in any movie or something that isn't like, you did good, I'm pinching your cheek. I haven't watched too many of those movies, but like, you did good here.
No, you're
but
nailing
as soon as you screwed up the job, then I'm going to kill you.
That's right.
Anybody can love someone who does what they want or helps them in some way.
Sure.
Then we are loving to do good because it is good. So if we love our neighbors for the benefit or service we can offer them, then we are loving to do good because it is good. Loving useful service because we have a desire to be of use. The difference between the two attitudes is described by the Lord in Matthew 5.
Matthew 5 keeps coming back to that.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that changes it. I thought love is like, who do you like thinking about the most, or who do you enjoy being around the most?
Yeah.
That's not quite the
right. When do I feel most myself, or I feel like somebody really gets me, or appreciates me, or something.
That's something, but it's not really love. Love intrinsically is about it doesn't mind getting things back, but that's not why it's in the game. Love is the intention to do good to others. That's how God is, by the way, according to Swedenborg. That God's got all the stuff already. He's got $1 trillion. He's got all the skills. He doesn't need anything from us.
Right.
But what he's trying to do, why anything exists, is he's trying to. I'm trying to give you guys everything that I have. That's the joy. That's the point. That's what love is.
And the goodness is such a good arbiter or a measure. It's not what does that other person want, if you see what I mean. Like it could be that the other person wants things that aren't healthy for them. I really want to, go nuts on this, or do nothing but watch TV all the time, or something like that, and I need you to support me. If you loved me, you would let me do the thing that I want. No. It's about goodness. It's about goodness. What is good for that person? What's good for that person being a good person in other people's lives? Where's the goodness here, and benefiting that above even what their lower self would find pleasurable and enjoyable. And I can't deal with responsibility. I don't want to,
Yeah. That's
Dad.
Okay. He goes on, and I think this relates to what you just said. People often say, I love such and such a person because that person loves me and does me good. But loving others for this reason alone is not loving them deeply. Unless we ourselves are intent on what is good and love the good things they do for that reason. It's not, take the you out of it. It's not, there's this county commissioner. I love them because when I go, I don't even know what you do with the county commissioner. When I go in for my something tax inspection, they just always let me off the hook. So I love them.
Yeah.
Is it good or is it not good? You love people because of the good that they do and the good you can do for them, not the personal benefit.
Yes, and the good that they do is such a great thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not, would they let me off the hook? Are they a good commissioner? Are they doing a good job? For everybody, because that's part of the deal.
That is being devoted to caring. The other is being focused on a kind of friendship that is not the same as caring. Anybody who's ever run a Ponzi scheme or something, they got their people these are my people and we all love doing this thing together. That's just because y'all get along, that's not good enough.
Yeah, and you can certainly bond over bad habits or think, that you have the same weakness as somebody else or something like that.
We bond over this
we
podcast.
get connected. Yeah, that's right.
It's driving both of us further into evil. When we love others because we care about them, we unite with the good that they do and not with their personality, except insofar and as long as they are engaged in doing what is good.
Amazing. This is so different than the normal marching orders for how to be in society or something. This is good stuff.
Yeah, it's not enough. It's not enough that we get along. The baseline is for me to love you, you got to be good. You got to be a good person. Now, if I care about you and you're not a good person, the way that I would express that caring is trying to get you to change your ways.
Yeah, and still seeing that there's some place better that the person could be. I can imagine things being like let's try to get you moved in a more positive direction or something like that.
Like this person is a hoot to be around. They're so funny, and I know that they go rob banks. That's not enough. It's not enough that we get along really well, that we really hit it off.
Yeah.
It has to be, the foundation is that there's goodness happening, and then the chemistry on top of it is the frosting.
Yeah.
Then we are spiritual, and we are loving our neighbor spiritually. If we love others merely out of friendship, though, we unite ourselves with their personality, including the evil that belongs to them. In that case, it is hard for us to separate ourselves after death from a personality that is devoted to evil, though in the former case, we can.
Wow. So there's that bond again, that you've bonded with somebody, and then it's difficult to separate yourself from them because you love that. Oh, yeah, he's crazy that way, but, you've got to love him.
All right. So love is a fairly important thing. It's something we think about a lot. It's something that we believe God is calling us to do. But what is it that it really means? Give me a quick recap. What's the difference between genuine love and false love?
Okay, genuine love is loving goodness. The true neighbor that the Bible and Swedenborg talk about is actually the goodness that people do and the goodness in people. That should be our neighbor. And sometimes what we're doing is we're helping somebody get toward the goodness in themselves and deal with the part that's in the way. Because when you really understand how love works, you realize that some of what's going on with their bad habits or whatever it is that hell is flowing into something more external in their lives and affecting them. And if you can help them move away from that, that's actually more loving than to just leave them where they are and just support them and make that possible. The love is, I can see why Swedenborg often pairs love with wisdom, because really loving someone effectively and really loving goodness effectively and supporting the goodness in that person and the goodness in others and the goodness that they do for others, that takes some wisdom, and that takes, it's a spiritual thing to get up to that level. You need heaven's help to get there.
False love is we get along great. Real love is we are together moving toward good. That's the essence of it.
Nice. Somehow you said it more briefly than I did, but that was good.
No, I'm just like, you built the castle. I just stood on top with the flag. Okay. Swedenborg wraps this quote up that we were just in by saying, caring makes this distinction by means of faith, because faith is truth. And when through truth we are truly caring, we look carefully and see what we should love. And when we are loving and benefiting others, we focus on the quality of usefulness in what we're doing. So have some discernment.
So the piece of faith in there is like the wisdom I was just talking about, realizing that what it made me think was that part of the faith is to understand there's a God, God is love, there are angels, there's a hell, hell's trying to pull people in one direction, heaven's trying to pull them in another direction. So the faith piece actually helps you be a more loving person to these irritating beings that we have to go through life with.
No offense.
No offense. But it helps you get to a different level with what are we all doing here, and how do we interact, and how do we support each other.
So we've come a long way here in understanding that hell wants to divide. That's its MO. It's trying to actively get us to hate each other.
Yeah, not just divided, but actively, raging at each other.
So let's close with how we would act even if we disagree on ideas, but if love is in the right place it's supposed to be. Swedenborg frames this in terms of doctrine, so like religious ideology. I think you could transpose this onto political ideology or anything else. But see what you think about this view of what is it to have principles and yet love outside those principles. Okay, this is from Secrets of Heaven 1285. A doctrinal view is united when everyone loves each other or displays charity. Mutual love and charity bring such people together into one despite the variety among them, because it draws unity out of variety. When everyone practices charity or loves each other, then no matter how many people there are, even if they number in the hundreds of millions, they share a single goal, the common good, the Lord's kingdom, and the Lord himself. So all those three are one goal. Variety in doctrine and worship are, again, like the variety of senses and organs in the human body, which contribute to the perfection of the whole. When doctrine or worship varies, then the Lord, working by means of charity, affects and acts on each of us in a way uniquely suited to our personality. In this way, he fits each and every one of us into the order of things, on earth just as in heaven. Then, as the Lord himself teaches, his will is done on earth as it is in heaven. I feel like the key there, the idea that sticks out to my mind is, this is actionable, and I get it, is it says, even if, no matter how many people there are, no matter how different their doctrines are, they share a single goal, the common good, which is the same as the Lord's kingdom, which is the same as the Lord himself. But taking it out to the common good, that's something I can really understand in my brain. So let's say somebody has the opposite political idea that I do. And I think if you get what you want, that's going to be damaging. And I want to try to stop you from having that. And they think the same thing about what I want. The way that we can be one is if in my heart I have as my goal the common good, meaning the good of the whole human race, that I think this will be good for the human race. And if they have that same goal in their heart, good for the human race, then even though they are trying to do the very thing that I'm trying to prevent, I can still know that they're doing what they think is right, and that what they think is right is the good of the whole human race. They're trying to it's not that they're just trying for their group to try to get things better for them, and I'm not just trying to do the same for me, but we both ultimately think, no, this is going to lead to the good for everyone. Then we can be absolutely at odds in what we want to have happen, but yet we're still on the same team, regardless of who ultimately is right or wrong.
Yeah, I love that. How you conceive of the team affects that. They're not enemies because there's something worse than heading for a goal in a different way than you're heading for it, which is to be on team absolutely evil. Let's destroy everything and blow it to smithereens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the real other team. And even that team, God goes, hey, we can all, God's able to use everybody to move in a positive direction in an amazing way.
So hell is trying to divide. Hell is the way that they operate is they're trying to divide people up, get us to hate each other, and have that be the battle that we're fighting.
Yeah.
The actual battle we should fight is within each one of us to try to identify what thoughts and feelings in me are self-centered, and it's me trying to be better than everyone else, dominate, get my way over the rest of the human race. Even if I see my own group as me as well, whatever it is. And then the other side of it is, what's the good for the whole human race? What's good for the whole human? If I work every day to fight to try to get it so that in my heart I'm going after things that I believe are good for the whole human race, and I'm letting the Lord's charity in for me there, I'm doing my part to fight the actual battle, which is for heaven and against hell.
And what does it feel like to be on a team with billions of people and you know you're all ultimately headed toward the same goal? You have the same thing in common. And that makes you all, in a sense, part of one giant, extremely diverse family. But it's, but you're all pulling. It must be an amazing feeling.
Isn't it zero-sum game? Am I using that right? Some people think it's a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
Someone's going to win, someone's going to lose.
Yeah, right.
But the way that the brilliant mastermind, God, has designed reality is that there's the ultimate goal is one in which everybody wins. Everybody wins. I guess everybody who loves that goal wins. That the only way you can lose if we get to where we're going is you don't want everyone to win because you want to be greater than everyone else. But I think a lot of people are just afraid that if these people get what they want, if we get to the destination, it's going to be worse for me. And same thing on the other side. But the way that God has designed the grand plan of heaven, it's meant to be everybody wins if we get there. So let's try to get there rather than go where hell's trying to take us. All right, man. Thanks for hanging out. That was fun.
That's good fun. Useful.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. If you haven't yet, hit that join button, become a member of the channel, and help us. We're not for profit, so we need your help to do what we do. Thanks for watching.